Kate, and today I'm watching episode 7 of The Haunting of Hill House. The last episode was called Two Storms. In the current timeline, we see everybody getting together at Shirley's house / funeral home, and it's the kids, their father, and Kevin just getting together and sorting things out the night before the actual funeral. When their dad showed up, that's when I really started to notice the camera work, the really long shots following them around, spinning in circles. They end up sharing some of their favorite stories about Nell, and Theo says that they've been retelling the same stories for years. She wants to hear something new. So kind of riffing off the last story they told about puffalopes, their father explains that she always used to send letters to Santa in her puffalopes. And in those letters, she would always ask for gifts for her siblings and never for herself. He also explains that Nell has been sending letters monthly to him, just updating him on everybody's lives. I think Steve was just waiting for his moment to jump in at their father because he still has a lot of anger and resentment towards him and how their father didn't act following their mother's death. So he immediately gets on their dad, talking about how he couldn't see any of the warning signs if she's sending letters to him once a month. Why couldn't he see any red flags? Why couldn't he step in and notice that she was starting to act like their mother? And in his little rant, Steve lets loose the fact that Nell showed up at one of his book signings and was very much not herself and very confrontational, which, if we're accusing people of not seeing red flags, Steve, there's a big one. And then we see that Nell had kind of tried to reach out to everyone, or she didn't try to reach out to Theo, but Theo had a moment with her at her apartment in LA where Nell was just totally out of sorts, not herself. So they all saw the warning signs. But everyone is always so deep in their own grief and dealing with their own problems that they don't see the people around them. And Nell was constantly seeing the people around her. Quite literally, because she's seeing ghosts too. She is seeing everyone around her. When Steve initiates the fight with his father, that kind of just sparks off a lot of anger amongst them all. And the camera is going in a counterclockwise motion while they're bringing up the same arguments that they've been having for years. And then finally, Theo admits to Shirley that she has been taking the money from Steve, the royalties from his book about Hill House. Everything kind of stops, and Shirley's very upset. And then Kevin steps in, her husband, and says, "We've been taking the money too." And the camera starts to go in a clockwise motion. After this fight, Shirley finds buttons are placed on Nell's eyes in her casket and gets very upset, asking who did it. But everybody there was together in the other room, so nobody could have done it without anybody else seeing it. In the past timeline, where they're still living at Hill House, we have another storm that's raging on, and that in the past timeline, the storm was not forecasted. In the current timeline, present day, we hear Steve say that they're the only house in the block even affected by the storm. But back to the past timeline, while they're all gathering together in the foyer of this house, Theo is holding on to Nell's hand, and suddenly Nell is gone. Steve is watching over the other kids while their mother and father go and look for Nell. We see their mother, Olivia, witnessing multiple ghosts, and then their father loses track of the mother and is just kind of following her as if she's a ghost back and forth throughout the upper portion of the house. When he finally finds her, she says that she's having a very weird dream. And in the sequence, we're seeing the ghosts, we're seeing the statues move their heads back and forth. The father witnesses what he thinks is Olivia standing in front of a large glass window that breaks and shatters all over her, and then when he lifts his head back up, it never happened. The children start screaming downstairs. They go back down, and they say that a spectral dog, has run through the house in front of them towards the kitchen. When they go to investigate the kitchen, suddenly Nell is back. And little Nell is saying to them, "I was right here the whole time. You were calling my name, you were looking for me, and I was standing here screaming, and you couldn't hear me." Now, in the current timeline, we see the ghost of Nell, or I didn't at first see the ghost of Nell, just hanging out with them in the background, not being observed or noticed. The only person to see her is their father, and he's the only one that's acknowledging how Hill House has this face that only the younger children, Luke and Nell, could see. This really angers Steve in the current timeline. He's so frustrated with his father. He says, please just admit it's like Mom, and it is a mental health issue. You are feeding into her delusions. You fed into her delusions. You are responsible for this because none of that stuff was real, and you let her believe it was. And while this arguing is going on, the casket tips over, the table breaks, and Nell comes tumbling out. In the past timeline, after the chandelier fell, we see Steve and the father work together to pick it up and to move it out of the way. And in the current timeline, we see them working together to get Nell back in the casket and to right it. As much as Steve and Shirley deny that they were ghosts, that something was wrong with Hill House, we see them continue to this day to have experiences. We see Steve notice his mother's ghosts multiple times near Nell's casket. We see Shirley seeing this mysterious man in her basement. I still think Steve is too angry and not ready to start sharing what he's seen because he's accused his father so much of feeding Nell's delusions and lying that how would he look explaining that he too has been seeing their mother's ghost. And also it's going to be difficult because Shirley walked in on Kevin and Theo in a supply closet and it looked like Theo was going to kiss Kevin. And Shirley's already mad at Theo and Kevin because they accepted the money from Steve behind her back, money that she thinks is blood money. So I think I'm being very naive in saying that we're going to continue making progress. We will. I just don't know if it's going to be this episode because there is a lot to overcome for them. With that, let's jump into episode 7. Right into the opening credits again. You know, I never looked closely enough at the statues and their faces during this. Oh boy. He is looking rough.
Sorry about that. Did you say you took cream or sugar?
The cops are being nice to him though, so I'm assuming, not sure if they're doing good cop, bad cop with him, or if they believe she really did harm herself,
okay?
The mother.
Sorry, that's all we had on hand. And yours, well, you know, if there's blood on it, we have to take them.
That's evidence.
Again, thank you for doing this voluntarily.
I gotta get back to my kids.
Kids are fine. I just checked on them. They're with Aunt Janet. You mentioned a few things to the officers.
I've been up all night. I've probably said some crazy stuff.
I'd like to hear the crazy stuff.
And your wife, she's with the medical examiner right now, and it's a mess. And we haven't even talked about the other body.
That didn't have anything to do with us.
Oh, of course not, but you can fix it right here.
The other body?
You're good at fixing things. I keep hearing this about you, is that right?
I'm not so sure anymore.
You leave a lawyer up. Suddenly, we can't fix this.
I hope we're finally going to get some answers to that night, or see a little bit more of it.
Why? What's wrong with it? Well, you know, I mean, it's a rental.
And he's still talking to her. Is she really there?
You're right. It's better.
This order in 2 days ago. Calla lilies. You promised me calla lilies.
You're really a
And
grandfather?
this is how Shirley's
That's
doing
right.
with it. Oh,
How
they never
come
met
we've
her?
never met?
Business with
Actually,
me now.
I
You knew this.
met Jaden a while back.
I don't remember that.
Oh, well, you were really little.
Where have you been? You missed breakfast.
Kevin's on his way. We'll take the 4. That's fine.
Can we please talk?
Everett screwed us.
Okay, I'll go in a minute, but can we just...
You're already on your way.
I saw your husband at the hotel this morning. I know you're upset with him because he took Steve's money.
It's a lot more to it than that.
Business.
Service starts at 10. It's 8:30. We're not open yet. If you want to lecture someone, lecture Theo.
I hope we find out what happened there too, but I don't
I wonder
think...
where she gets that from.
There she is.
I needed my space, but not like Cheryl. Bear with her.
Oh, what a mess. Never seen
What
a
a
storm
mess.
make a mess like this.
So this is the night after the storm.
A little rain, that was all.
It's a lot
Your
of
place
damage.
is what, like a 10-minute walk from here?
Well, a little more.
I'm wondering if it's one of those microbursts. You ever hear of those? One of the most dangerous storms, but it hits a really small area.
Sounds like we're really trying to convince ourselves of that. Steve found something.
Feels like it only hit this house.
Dad, this wall feels squishy.
Secret door.
Shit.
Sounds squishy too.
Busted pipe, most likely.
It shouldn't be.
They're all
Really
water
shouldn't be.
damaged.
I mean, we took care of all. If it is, it's okay. I can fix it.
What's that smell?
That is a smell of ruin.
Or is he smelling something like Luke smelled something in that room?
Please don't be down here. Motherfucker.
I feel like they're not gonna find water damage, though.
Yep.
What's gonna come out on that camera?
Stevie, why don't you go on upstairs?
I want to help.
This is black mold. It's dangerous to breathe.
Oh. Steve just always wanted to be hanging out and doing whatever his dad's doing. What's that noise?
Do you hear that?
Maybe don't put your ear up to it.
Maybe rats. Could be what happened to the pipes. Rats get thirsty enough, they'll shoot through just about anything.
You just drop it?
This could ruin us.
Fun fact, it does.
Shirley doesn't want people in the house just yet, so I thought maybe I'd say hi.
Yeah, I bet Cheryl's in a mood.
Enlighten us. Let us know why. I know there's more to what happened in that room between her and Kevin.
I remember when Luke lived here.
Oh, Luke lived here first.
Thought if anybody could, keep him on track, it'd be your sister.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking a lot better now, right? Doesn't he?
Guess so.
I forgot how much vodka she drank last night. She's probably a little hungover.
I'm just, I've woken up plenty of mornings looking like that myself.
I fucked up last night, Daddy.
Ooh, she pulled out the daddy.
And if I make it through today alive, I'm gonna have to pack this all up and find a new place to live.
I think he's putting two and two together.
I'm sorry. I should have made more of an effort with you. You tried. As best as you could. I should have met you halfway. People fuck up.
She hit her rock bottom.
This doesn't have to do with Steve's money, does it?
I have to shower.
Yeah,
You can stay. Enjoy your coffee.
So, she really does have feelings for Kevin?
I didn't expect that.
Gotta start somewhere.
We broke through with one.
Parlor, library, and then the pooling in the basement. There are veins of it. Veins of mold that are spreading.
Veins. Olivia had called the house like a living thing with a heart and lungs.
I'll combine these plans into one master blueprint, and then we'll find out how fucked we really are.
You got moisture coming from somewhere. Somewhere upstairs where it's spreading. Have you actually looked everywhere?
I've checked everywhere but one room.
Well, that's probably your culprit. We section off the infested walls, bring in fans to dry everything out. Treat it with thymol, powerful stuff.
My budget's stretched as it is, so maybe you can give me a quote for fan rental.
It's a big job for one person.
Well, I've got help. What do you say, Steve?
Oh, that's all he wants, is to help. I think Steve's trying to leverage this into an opportunity to address things with his relationship, and maybe now's not the time.
What?
That you wish you'd had better role models, better marriage to emulate. We were solid, babe. Those last few days don't count. That wasn't us.
Days. So not just that night, days. Everybody's separated from their partners. Yeah, everybody's kind of lost someone. If you count Luke and Joey.
He doesn't want to make today about him. It's okay to just sit. You don't have to talk.
Yeah, you two stay away from each other.
Hey, boys. Are you fucking kidding me? What are you doing here?
I just wanted to support you, and if I'd known...
If I wanted you to know that, I would have told you that.
Okay, Theo.
I'm sorry. Fuck my day.
Meet the family. She's staying, though.
My sweet boy.
Is that Aunt Janet?
There she is.
You knew she'd be here. You?
Janet.
I'm sorry we're here. None of us should be here.
I know what you mean.
Don't want to speak too soon, but it does seem like she's being an adult and not trying to start or bring up old drama with you.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Is it coming from behind the brick? Is there another secret room?
Green men hard at work. I have a present for you.
Finished blueprints?
Master blueprints?
Good job, honey.
Well, something's not making sense to him.
I cannot say, and I will not say, that she is dead. She is just away. With a cheery smile and a wave of the hand, she has wandered into an unknown land. And you, oh you, who the wildest yearn for the old-time step and the glad return, think of her still as the same, I say. She's not dead. She's just away. If anyone wants to say a few words.
Luke, I thought it was going to be Steve, but once again, Luke's the one stepping up.
I was born 90 seconds before no. If I wanted something, I'd say I was the oldest, so she had to do what I said. And she let me get away with it. She was driving me to rehab, so she dropped me off. She looked at me and she said, "You go in there and you bring my brother back." I was born 90 seconds before no, but she was always my big sister.
What has got him so flabbergasted?
What's this?
Oh, it's the, I don't know exactly.
The missus do these?
Yeah.
What's got them all confused?
Probably ain't my place, but maybe she could use a little time away from the house.
I think you might be right. It's probably not your place.
Ooh, I never see him get like that.
You know, my mother worked in this house.
The Dudleys know stuff.
I was actually born here. But my mom, she never liked Hill House. She'd come home, sometimes after a long shift.
Different?
Scattered, you might say. Towards the end, she'd wander into the woods at night barefoot, giggling like a schoolgirl in love.
What did she draw on this blueprint?
I see.
I met Clara when she got hired on working for Ms. Hill.
That's who they were calling for?
Clara, she spent a lot of time in here. Clara got pregnant. Miss Hill made her keep on working, even with the baby coming. So the day comes, the doc comes, and my little girl's stillborn. She went back to work fast. I mean, but the nightmares she had. They had her down in a corner, shaking so bad I thought she'd seize up dead. This is before Hazel passed. She's cleaning Hazel's room. She hears a baby crying. And I mean, I thought she was losing her damn mind.
Come on, Hugh, this is what you went through the other night during the storm.
So I came back here with her one night and I'll be damned, but I heard it too. And that was my first little girl's cry. That first cry, the one she never got to.
The house took it.
We stopped coming here after dark. Told Miss Hill, you can fire us. But once dinner's served, we leave. Come back in the morning for the dishes.
We spent a long time just solely focused on Mr. Dudley.
It's not my place. But if you find your missus is acting scattered, a little time away would do the trick.
Sucks this place is haunted, though. Look at that doorway. What did she put on it that is freaking them both out so bad? Show us.
Ride with us. I'll meet you there.
Cheryl.
I'll meet you there.
What's option number 3?
Need a ride?
Time to make up with Dad. He's knocking them down one by one.
Who knew Luke had it
From
in him?
youngest to oldest, it would seem.
You know, I was talking to Theo this morning. In the end, all you guys have is each other.
Did Theo tell you what she did?
No.
It's not listening to the missus.
One day, we'll wake up and it'll be too late.
Stay the fuck out of my business.
I didn't let the mold guy do the whole job, so he gave me some busted fans. Steve, can you unplug it over there?
These fans are freaking me out now.
Jesus Christ!
I unplugged it!
It's okay, it was an accident!
My dad's a chef. He actually did that to his hand on a meat slicer all the way up.
All right, you fucker.
Yeah, you know, we've seen him get very angry in this episode. Like, I noticed it especially when he was talking with Mr. Dudley. Like, the way he said it's not your business. Like, that's not the Hugh we've been used to. Who's so calm. Like, he's creepily calm all the time. Just get an axe at this point. Yeah, this house is bleeding them.
My little girl. She did raise her.
Still.
Can't completely hate on Janet just because from the outside looking in, I'm sure it certainly looked a certain way.
That was suicide.
He's the only one actually focused on Nellie. Is that why he could see her?
Don't.
Luke!
Did you see her? No. It was Mom. It was Mom and Nellie. Hey, stop it. You didn't because they're dead.
Steve, you saw her too. You experienced
Hell,
it.
I've seen things this week, but it's not real. Get your shit together. Like Mom and Nell didn't get their shit together. You're gonna end up just like them, you understand?
Ooh, now we see what Steve is worried about
Because
for
it's in our
himself.
genes.
Is this what him and his wife have been fighting about? He doesn't want to carry on their genetics.
I don't want to bury you too, you understand?
Are we okay?
And it's interesting how Luke is seeing a different version of the mother than Hugh, their father, sees. He's seeing her as she was, but maybe Luke is seeing, like, how he saw her last.
Liv?
Liv!
Having a horrible dream.
You think? What's going on with you?
He's
You're
losing
holding a
it.
fucking screwdriver to my throat.
No, I wasn't.
I don't know what we have to do, but we have to do something. You're
Getting scattered.
What is this?
It's a master blueprint you drew. I didn't know what this was.
You use the same shape dozens of times.
What's the shape?
It's a footprint to our house, to our forever house. You just drew it again and again.
I didn't.
You did.
Maybe you should take a break.
Get away for a few days.
I guess I could see if Janet's up for a visit. You'd have to juggle the kids and the house, and
I'll manage.
I just think I've underestimated these migraines, you know?
I'm not so sure they're migraines.
You just tired?
It just snuck up on me all of a sudden. I'll sort it out.
Like Steve was saying, we gotta figure it out. I'll sort it out. Oh. Okay, Theo's making some progress there. But what happened with her and Kevin? And it looks like Lee and Cheryl have each other.
You did good. Say your goodbyes. Probably won't have to see them again for years if you don't want to. But you do want to, don't you?
Yeah, I think he does.
How you holding up?
You know, I'm okay.
I overheard you and Steve talking earlier at the grave. I see your mother every day.
Well, that's pretty nuts.
Yeah, for me, it's a coping mechanism. Doesn't mean it's always the case.
You boys know the difference between what's real and imaginary.
Ooh, he's been holding on to that one.
Isn't that right, Dad?
Well, sometimes we experience things that change our minds.
I'm glad you're here, Dad.
The police officer said, and the other body. So is there a body, like was somebody murdered and their body is hidden somewhere in this house? Or did they befall a tragic accident and nobody ever cared enough to look for them or wonder where they went? And that's what's haunting this place? Just tearing down a random brick wall within a house can't be the best idea, but I really want to see what's back there. What was it? There's a face back there, there's a face back there, there's a face back there. Yep. There was a white ghost back there staring.
I'm going to keep the children upstairs.
Okay, well that's the same cop that was questioning him, so he already knows that this house has a history of old bodies that clearly can't be their responsibility. Kane. What's he holding, an iron?
And I think you just saw one of our oldest cold cases. William Hill, been missing since 48.
Is this Top Hat, because he had a cane?
Widow had PIs looking for him for years after.
But how did he end up in the walls?
How did he get in there?
It looks like he bricked himself in. The tools were in there with him.
Oh, yeah, that's what that...
Man, the scratches. I guess he had second thoughts. Well, good news is Massachusetts doesn't require that you disclose you've had any death on the premises to any potential buyers.
Well, that's good.
You know, I gotta ask, is it haunted?
Oh, yeah. At least a few of my kids sure think so.
I like the shot of him in the doorway against Hugh in the stairs. He's just an outsider looking in, and he's here living it. And he could just leave and close the doors behind him, but he's still living there having to deal with the haunted house. I'm like looking in the background to see if any more statues move. But that definitely, the ghost that was behind Hugh when he broke through, that was a woman. We found a man in there.
That was a day. It was. I'll be around at the hotel later if you want to get a drink or...
Well, I'm an early flight, too.
Yeah, right.
All he wanted to do when he was younger was be with his dad and help out.
I'm sorry I didn't talk. And I'm sorry I didn't listen.
Is he not going to listen to her again?
What?
You fly safe.
You too.
Shit. Can't find my credit card, and the caterer's got to be paid.
No, Luke.
My car is gone.
What do you mean?
I mean, my car is gone.
Fine, but you didn't want to believe it.
Shirley,
I'm sure it's around.
Speak up. Come on. Speak up.
You knew it looked wrong.
he was looking at your... And then he wanted to have a smoke. He went outside about an hour ago.
Probably already has a needle in his arm.
We don't know that.
Is he going to the house? Water damage? Blood spatter? The forever home. Nellie? No, it's Olivia. Make it stop. So I'm guessing Olivia found her way into one of the fans, because the side of her face, it looks like what happened to the dad's hand.
Oh, God.
Shirley's gonna think that Theo did this.
Well, it wasn't. It was... I can fix it. I can fix it. Yeah.
You keep saying that you didn't hurt her, but you get real upset if I say she killed herself.
I didn't touch her.
And I don't know why you won't give me these 3 hours.
I was in shock. I was mourning.
Well, we all grieve in our
First
own
you say your
ways.
wife went out of town.
I thought she did.
Your daughter Shirley says she woke you up because she was surprised to see Mom in the kitchen.
That's right.
And she says that you ran up the stairs to the red room. So what did you see when you got to the red room?
That door's been locked since we moved in, so...
Are we about to see it open? No way it's gonna end there. It ends there. So this was Hugh's episode, the father's episode, seeing what he witnessed and experienced in that house. So his ghost was the guy, or his main experience seems to be the person scratching at the wall. Like, all the kids have their own experiences and their own hauntings, and he heard the scratching because they said he had equipment to wall himself up there with the bricks, but it kind of looked like the cane and the guy with the cane with the bowler cap that haunted Luke, but maybe that wasn't the cane. I'll look back during editing. But I definitely saw that ghost behind Hugh when he finally burst through the wall. I don't think we've seen that one yet. It looked like a young woman. It didn't look like Abigail because there was long white hair, but that's interesting that the entity was witnessing Hugh discover the body that had long been trapped there. So does this house itself kind of absorb the life force of the inhabitants of the house? We see that scene with Mr. Dudley was fantastic. The acting in that was incredible. That was just on him. The camera was on him for so long, and the range of the emotions telling that story was just phenomenal. You really felt his pain for what his family suffered there. His mother kind of losing her mind, going barefoot, dancing in the woods. Mrs. Dudley, they lost their first daughter, unfortunately, and they hear her crying in the house. So it seems like this house almost steals life. And again, Olivia talks about the house being a living thing. I think she, like, the kitchen is the heart and such was the lungs. And we see in this episode, they were talking about the water and the mold and it running through the house like veins. We see Steve desperately wanting to be his right-hand man for his dad, just to be with him in whatever he's doing, versus the present timeline where he just wants nothing to do with him anymore. His hero is no longer his hero. It's his kind of his villain. I was really having hope for Luke there, because it seems like we're having some breakthroughs with these characters, but then we are also witnessing setbacks or just not continuing to make forward progress. So with Luke, though, I don't know if it's what we think it is. I don't know if it's him relapsing again. I feel like we're meant to think that, and I feel like he may be headed to the house, because he seemed so at peace, although maybe he was just so struck by what happened and so upset with his interaction with Steve that he does want to use again. But then also with Theo, she made progress with Hugh. She made progress with her dad. They seem much closer now. You know, Luke and him seem much closer too when they acknowledge that they see things that the others aren't acknowledging. And then Theo had the breakthrough with her father. She kind of had a breakthrough with her, I don't want to use the term girlfriend, but her romantic interest. And then she saw mother, Olivia, there at the end. I'm still so confused by what went on with Kevin and Theo, because Theo is saying that she screwed up royally, that she's at her rock bottom, which I think when you're being judged so harshly in your worst moment, you start thinking about how harshly you've judged other people, and Theo is definitely explaining that to her dad, that she should have worked things out with him sooner, because now she's seeing what happens when you're at your lowest and being judged. But I think also she's saying that to her father because there's more to the story for both of them. Shirley's been seeing that guy in the basement that always raises the glass to her, and I need to know who that is. I'm hoping we figure that out soon. And Steve seems to be slowly losing it a little bit. He seemed really desperate with Lee, his soon-to-be ex-wife. I'm thinking now that his constant talk of genetics and mental illness may be a reason for him and Lee's relationship problems. I thought at first maybe he wanted kids and she didn't, but now it seems to be like the opposite, where maybe she wants kids and he's so afraid of carrying on the genetics and the mental illness, especially because, as he said to Luke, he himself has been seeing things, but he's putting pressure on himself to be perfect and to fix it, kind of like the dad, I can fix it. And they all have been so focused on fixing themselves, and they're all so alone in their loneliness and their grief. And we see Hugh in the past, he's always saying, I can fix it, I could do it myself. And he's still trying to do that with his kids. It seems like he spent individual time with all of them, and he's listening to the advice of Olivia, not always taking it, but he's trying to fix things with each of the children in turn. Honestly, the most emotionally mature person in this episode, I think, was Aunt Janet, because again, as an outsider looking in, it doesn't look good for Hugh in terms of what happened with Olivia. And she didn't seem like overtly mean and nasty. She acknowledged Hugh and said sorry that we were all there and seemed to really mean that. Back to when the cop said it doesn't look good for you because of your wife's body and the other body. So that second body, because it was the same cop that came and collected, I was about to say Hank Hill, Herbert Hill, the body from behind the brick wall. Was that the second body he was talking about? Or was there a second body the night of? Because now I gotta pay attention to that when I go back and edit. I'm like so afraid to miss ghosts now that I'm paying extra attention to the background, and that's definitely why I did see, when he broke through the brick wall, that white ghost apparition behind Hugh. I definitely saw that. So my main questions are still, what's in the red room? The door opened up. What was that second body that the cop was alluding to? Was there a second body there the night of? Do they uncover another body hidden in the house? Or was he just alluding to that first body they found behind the brick wall. What happened with Theo and Kevin? Because Theo seems pretty into her romantic interest, seems to be working through things with her, but I'm still questioning what actually happened with her and Kevin. I feel like it's, again, a misdirect. A misdirect, again, could be Luke. It seems as though he's fallen back on his old ways, especially after what he witnessed. It seems like whenever he witnesses the man with the bowler cap, that's when he turned to drugs to keep him away or at bay. But after seeing Nellie and his mother's ghost, I don't think he's going... I feel like he's going somewhere. But Nellie's ghost said to him at the gravesite, "Don't." And back when she first passed, when he woke up in the middle of the night, she said, "Go." And so I'm wondering if it's just like a timey-wimey thing where she's really saying to him, "Don't go." Like, don't go to the house. And she said don't right before the mother's ghost, and the mother was saying, "We weren't us in the last few days. I wasn't myself that night. That's not Mom." As the kid said, she grabbed on to Luke and was trying to pull him into the grave. So I'm wondering if Nell's ghost is telling him don't go, and maybe he is going to go to the house because he's misinterpreting the message. We'll see. So those are my messy post-show thoughts. Hopefully when I go back and edit, I'll have a better understanding that we could go over at the beginning of the next episode. So with that, I will see you in episode 8.